Hi, everybody. It's Lisa Schulteis here with ElectraLime Marketing, and I am privileged and honored to have a very special guest on the show with us today. It's somebody that I get to actually call a dear friend, but she's also very, very smart, one of the smartest businesswomen that I know, and that would be DeAnna Rogers with Boost Events. And DeAnna, just welcome. I am so excited that we are able to do this together.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad to be here, Lisa. You are my dear friend. We've been in this space together for several years. And so anytime I can get together and see your space and work with you, man, it's a good day. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, really today, I just wanted to talk about events. We've both been in this space for a long time. We've seen it evolve. Here in the last month, we kind of saw it come to a crashing halt, which I think kind of took everybody by surprise a bit. You all had events that you had to make last minute decisions with as to what to do with them, just like everybody else. And now that we're starting to see some states and some locations maybe lessen restrictions a little bit, I wanted to talk about kind of, where the event space and industry is right now and kind of what we see coming up in the future, and we can have a conversation about that. But where do you really see the events industry right now in today's space?
I think we're in a holding pattern right now. So I think, in February, we saw the coronavirus hit and the COVID-19, right? And so nobody realized what it would actually do until March. I think middle of March. Was it March 15th? I think it was, whatever that day was. That's when kind of everything just in the world just kind of stopped. It came down. And so, ourselves, we had to pivot and we had to move a ton of events. Our company did 36 events a year, and now we're down to like 11, right? So there was a huge shift, and all of the events got transitioned, got moved out to further dates. And we've never seen that in the history. We've never seen that. I mean, people love events. People love traveling. People love going to events. People love networking and connecting. And all of a sudden, it was a stop, a hard stop, not even a gentle stop. So I think it's something very new that none of us in this has ever dealt with. And so we all had to just really quickly figure out what does this look like? Like, what are events going to look like? And what we first thought was, oh, this is just a 20, 30-day pause. And that's what we thought. And then that pause came to, this is a reality of, this is a change in lifestyle. This is a change that'll be forever affecting travel, for affecting events, large gatherings, anything like that. So this is very different. We've come to the conclusion that we must change how we look at events and what we are doing with the events in order to stay where we're at. And so all of us that thought we knew what we were doing, we're all learning again. It's like starting all over again, right? So you're always learning, always trying new stuff, and now more than ever. And the best part about it is we're all doing it together. So that's where, like, us being together on these calls and we can all help each other has been great, because it's something that none of us ever expected. And yet now we can all be in together and help support one another as we pivot to these new changes.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody else and they said it really just felt like the rug was pulled straight out from underneath them. Like, it was just such an immediate thing that happened. And it seemed like within a matter of 2 days, I think, everything just stopped, right? All the events just started canceling and canceling and canceling. And it was kind of a really rude wake-up call, I think, for us.
It was. We haven't felt that. Our grandparents may have felt that in certain times of things, but not to what we've experienced. It was very different. And we had a 10,000 person event that we tried so hard to hold on to, and we just, we obviously had to make the right call, and it would have happened anyway. But that was a hard decision, and that was, when we had to cancel just 3 weeks before the show was about to happen, and so that's a lot, and that was hard. And and we were at an event. Actually, I was in San Diego the night before another smaller event for about 100 people. and setting up the ballroom. And we ended up having to, within an hour, had to cancel it all and had to start calling. People were at airports flying in. We had to call and reschedule, and I had to get on a plane the very next day and fly home. So otherwise we would have gotten stuck. Like the hotels, everything was shutting down. It was just nothing like you'd ever experienced before. And so it's a new place. It's a new world that we're living in. And I think at first, I know myself, I'll speak of myself. I thought, okay, this is 30 days. We're all stuck at 30 days. We'll just work from home and then we'll get back to normal and things will be the way they always were. And they're not. We're going to have to go into things, looking at things differently, preparing differently, having hybrids of things for our events. So just a lot of different moving parts that I think we're now going to have to be more aware of as we grow into the event space.
Yeah, I agree. And I was in the same position. I was out of town on site with a client. We actually were in the process of doing a virtual event for them. They had made a judgment call early to convert to virtual, and we were on site putting that all together and ready to go live. And they looked at me and said, "Get on a plane. You're going to get stuck.
Yeah.
Go home with your family, you're going to get stuck." So it was definitely really interesting. But I'm starting to see a lot of really good movement with events. Obviously, in my space, we're converting everything to virtual at this point. And we're starting to see a lot of movement. And I think that's what the most important thing is right now is that, the event space keeps moving, right? Like it came to a screeching halt, and that's fine. And I think it shook us to our core. But now it's time to move along with that. So in terms of live events, where do you see us going in terms of when we might be able to start having these events again? Are we talking Q2, Q3, Q4? What are you hearing? What are you experiencing?
Well, personally, we are moving all of our smaller events and most of our events to Q4 of this year. There's a couple of them that we have Q3. So I think like right now, we're looking, it's May right now. And most of our stuff is being shifted from September on. And I'm saying probably later September on. So most of the stuff that we are even now rescheduling for are like the 3rd, 4th week of September and onward. I don't think you're going to see a lot of people, even with everything opening up right now and governors opening up the states and restaurants and hotels and different people opening up doors again. I don't think you're going to see that many people that'll be willing to jump on the airplanes again and travel in such large amounts as what we were using. It was nothing before. Think about 2 months ago. It was nothing. Jump on a plane, fly to Vegas, fly to San Diego, fly to Orlando, go to an event for 3 days, fly home, get back to work. And that was just what life was. And now people are rethinking their travel. I mean, seriously rethinking. So even if you can have the event because the space allows, I think the travel, people are going to be very cautious. And so we have to be aware of that and know that planning that now based on what people still fear of travel is still going to be impacting the size of our events. So I'm seeing a Q4. I'm seeing heavily Q1 of 2021.
Okay. Yeah, and what I have been advising people is if they have an event in Q2, so we're still in May at this point, so May, June, and I know that July is technically Q3, but I'm going to group it in there. In any of those 3 months, I am telling people at this point, you need to make it virtual. Like it's just not going to happen. And if you haven't started planning that, you need to do it now. For anything for August, September, kind of even early October, really what I'm recommending to people is that they have the backup plan. At a minimum, have the virtual backup plan. And then moving forward, I think we're going to start seeing more of the events in Q4 and Q1. And it's going to be interesting to watch it too, because some of the spaces, it is going to turn into a little bit of a war to see if you can get in, right? Who's got the most money, who's the most popular, all of those things. And some of these smaller events might actually have difficulty, actually getting a venue for Q4 and Q1. So it'll be interesting to watch that too.
I would too. I will piggyback on that. And I agree with you because what I found was when I was first, like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, when I started just immediately switching and shifting everything and changing all the dates out that I could, the hotels were so easy to work with. Like, they were just, okay, let's get these books changed. And I noticed, like, even yesterday, I reached out to a hotel, and this is a client of ours that we've dealt with and for a while, and they're hesitant. So they're, you're going to see a shift in the hotel space as well. And you're right. So, and they're trying to force you to do it this year. Like, they want it in like this one particular hotel was like, well, we'll give you 60 days to move out. I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to give me a lot more than that. So, they're trying. I'll give them credit. They're trying, but I can't say in good faith that 60 days is going to make a difference in travel for their. And again, and let me preface that with, I think it depends on your clientele. Let's start there, because if it's a smaller group and it's your personal mastermind or something like that, and it's 20, 30 people, they may all still travel, and that might be fine. I think if you're looking at larger shows where it's like 100, 200, 300, 1,000, absolutely more than 1,000, yeah, you need to be pushing in Q4 for sure. Anything of that size, I think that, to be honest, I think the cities will mandate that still. I don't think they're going to let you have a show in the summertime with 1,000, 4,000, 5,000 people. So I think just be proactive now. Like, get out there and reach out to those hotels right now. Because from what I understand, June 1 on a lot of the hotels, is what I'm being told, is kind of their threshold. If you haven't changed it, they're going to start having penalties. So that's what I'm being told. And so I've been moving all my dates now. So it's May, you guys get after it. Like, seriously, if you can jump in there, reach out, start moving those dates and getting them now, because everyone's going to be moving their dates. And Lisa's right. They're going to go for the bigger fish. And so you want to get your dates secured before anybody else.
Right. So what do you think is one of the biggest challenges when it comes to converting from a live event to a virtual event? I know I have my opinion, but I would love to hear what yours is in terms of, what the big challenge is with converting to virtual.
What the challenges from converting, because there's a couple of challenges. So had you asked me this a month ago, I would have said I don't think you could do it as well as a live event. But I will tell you, I've been on so many of them this past 30 days, and yes, you can. You absolutely can. And in fact, we're seeing a larger show up rate of attendance because everyone is stuck at home. So what you're seeing is what I've been seeing in the virtual space right now, is that there was a client that had, I think 700 this was a week ago, 700 people registered for their live event that would have happened last month. And so they went ahead and did it virtually, and they ended up 3Xing it. So they were at 2,200, 2,250 or something, ended up attending, and they 4Xed what they intended to make on that show. So, to 3X your attendance and 4X what you anticipated in sales and revenue for an event in a virtual event is just, to me, mind-blowing. And again, had you asked me that a month, 2 months ago, I would have said, no, there's no way. Because I truly believe that, the live event space and the hype and the fun and the networking, that's where it's at. But I was proven wrong, because this made everybody rethink. So what happens is now we're doing virtual, and we're taking all those elements that we needed and we so badly are lacking by not having the live events, and we're putting them into the virtual event, and still can be done. And that's the fun part, is that we're not losing it. Yeah, it's not the same, and yeah, it sucks. Especially for some of us that just absolutely love live events, it's not as fun as being able to go to the bar and have a drink with the different people you meet, or the networking and the receptions and the parties and the bands and all the fun things that go with a live event. But it can still be done. And I think that's the key, is being creative and thinking outside of the box, and still having those virtual happy hours and those virtual, registration process. All those things can still be done and make it fun. And you're having more people attend now than they would have before. They're not traveling. They're not spending money on an airplane. They're not spending money on a hotel. And they're sitting in front of their computer, because what else are they going to do? and now you've got their full attention. So yeah, right now this is definitely the time to be moving into that space. And even if you are doing a live event and you move that, the hybrid's going to have to still be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're adding a lot of fun elements like, the networking and the happy hour are definitely there. We're adding things like, digital scavenger hunts. So, we're actually utilizing that a lot to give love to our exhibitors and sponsors, right? So we'll put together a digital scavenger hunt where people have to go onto the website and go into the different, exhibitor rooms and things like that to find the things that are on the scavenger hunt, and it's giving our sponsors and exhibitors a lot of love too. Or even, taking that passport that we always did at the live event and moving that virtual. There's so many things that you can move to still have, that experience, and it's different, but it still can absolutely be done. So there's a lot of things that you can do to make it fun and really, I tell everybody, I'm like, love on your exhibitors and sponsors because they're giving you the money, right? That's where your income's coming from. So don't forget about them. It's not just the attendees.
No, and I think you can do the gamification. That's really key
Oh, yeah.
right now into the virtual space, is being able to gamify your virtual event. And as long as you can do that and make it fun, and again, your exhibitors, yes, they have to be a key component in making this work. But if you can do that, then the attendees still have fun, the speakers still have fun, the sponsors have fun, and you can still have a lot of fun. And the best part is you can do it while you're still sitting in your pajamas. You can't do that at a live event. So
That's right. We could, but it probably wouldn't be.
It might be different. Yeah,
Yeah. So you and I talked earlier about my prediction, and you actually agree with it. So, and we've kind of hinted about it a little bit here as we've been talking as well. But when live events come back, my full prediction is, eventually they're going to come back, and it'll be interesting to see how soon we can have kind of the big 10,000 people type events. But even when we're talking about 100, 200, 500 people, they're definitely going to come back. But a lot of people have kind of switched gears on their mentality over travel, whether it's a safety issue of, oh, wait, could I get sick, if I travel, or just wait, I don't have to travel, right? I don't have to put out the money for airfare. I don't have to put out the money for hotels. And so my prediction is, as we move forward with live events, that live events are going to have to convert to hybrid, meaning that they will be a live event, but have that virtual event component to it. And I think that is what our future of events are. Tell me a little bit about what you think about that.
I do agree. I agree 100% that it's going to have to be a hybrid. I think, and I'm going to say at least a year or more. It's going to be a while before people are just back exactly where we are, if that ever is the case, right? So I think for the next 12 to 18 months, you need to have a plan in place to become a hybrid solution for events, as far as whether or not you're doing virtual and live, or what you're doing. So for example, if you are going to go ahead and have a live event, let's use the example of a 300 person event. Let's say you're going to do it in Vegas. And Vegas is opening up, so you can do it, but maybe only 200 of them show up. Are you willing to risk that other 100? What, you open it up and you do virtual, and now you can maybe have 600 people. Let's just think about what the odds of that are. Now you've opened that up, and you can do virtual event tickets, so that the 200 that really do want to come, that really are truly like hardcore, I'm going to come and join this event, but you could double or triple your online tickets for other people that still may want to still attend. And why would you not give them the opportunity? And so having this hybrid result of an event, but then also making sure that as you're just live streaming it, that it's, if that's what you're doing, live streaming, I'm assuming, but as you're doing it, that you're adding the components to make them feel like they're there too. I think a lot of the times in the past, I'm just as guilty as anyone, right? We have a live event, and we have a live stream. So we treated it as it's just a streaming. We didn't really treat it as if it's an event. And I think we need to pay more attention to that. I think it's really important that we look at that component, because what we did was we put all of our emphasis, and I mean, I'm so guilty of this. Like the event was our baby. Everything was built around that event. And then we sold live stream as this is like almost like this is the second thing. We want you to be there, but if you can't, okay, then you just had the live stream and people could still be a part of it. But the emphasis didn't make you really feel like you were a part of that event. It was just live stream, right? Whereas I think now the goal is going to be, it doesn't matter if it's the live event or if it is the live stream. Both of those are going to have so much attention to detail to make sure that you feel like you're there. So that way the attendee feels like they're not missing out. And I think that's the key. That's the key to this being successful, is making sure that your hybrid version is good for all attendees. And it's not just an afterthought. And I know a lot of my friends in this event space as event planners, live stream was an afterthought. It was, oh, we were on site and we're like, oh, you know what? We're just going to live stream it. We'll just throw that up on a page and we'll let people pay $100 and they can watch the show. Because a lot of people never really wanted to sell those tickets because it kept people from not coming to the live event, right? So it was kind of like an afterthought. Now it's going to have to become the thought. This is the thought. This is the process. This is the plan. This is what you have to do. And I think it's only fair that you do that, because people for 12, 18 months, if not longer, are not going to be ready just to go out and travel into large groups. They might be willing to go travel to a 50-person event or 100. They may not be willing to go travel to a 10,000 person event or a 20,000 person event or whatever. So, you have to make those options open and make sure that the options that you create with that hybrid model, that they're interactive. So that way that they get to feel the entire event. So I think as event planners, we're going to have to be thinking outside of our box. It's no longer afterthoughts for the virtual side of things. This is like the key element of making that event happen. So it's a lot more for us to be thinking and planning and creating value for the people that are at home.
Absolutely. And a couple of thoughts to follow up with that. So first off, in terms of the virtual event, so not only did the event planners kind of have to change their mindset and, approach it from, wait, we have, two big elements of one event now, right? We have the live event, but we also have kind of the virtual side of it that we have to pay attention to. But now the exhibitors and sponsors are also going to have to pay attention to that, because they're going to need people that are on site at the live event working the booth and talking to people, but they're going to need a second sales team that are also talking to people online, right? So if you actually have an event where you have virtual exhibitor booths as well as live exhibitor booths, then you've got people in two spaces that you have to be able to pay attention to, and it's going to be an entirely new perspective for exhibitors and sponsors as well. And then from the event planner space, all the event planners that I know are incredibly talented at what they do. Like, they pull off live events with such grace. It is amazing. But my message to event planners would be, don't be afraid to ask for help on the virtual side. That's a whole new space. We're talking software that can be easy or software that can be really complicated too. And, your teams are really, really good at what you do, but don't be afraid to ask for assistance on that side of it with the virtual, because it is a whole nother creature and it needs a different kind of attention. And so
I agree with you.
Yeah, having that, and having somebody to, bring in somebody that has that perspective, so it's a little bit easier and makes your job easier too. You and I have had conversations, I don't know how many times, about, God bless you for dealing with the hotels and the caterers and coffee people, and I would never want that job, right? And you do it so well. And so I think, we just need to make sure that the event planners are building their teams out to be able to support it as well.
Well, I think you nailed it on the head when you said don't be afraid to ask for help. And I think it's just because we always wanted to do the best. We wanted to have, it's a good, all of us event planners are a little control freaks in a little bit of a way, right? We just want to control that baby. We want it to be perfect. And we are so proud of it. And we have teams, we all have teams that we work with, but there's an ownership to it. And I think you're right. I think the thing about it is you're in a different space and a different time. And I talked to someone the other day that was in an AV company, and I asked this person how they were doing, and they said, you know what, we're pivoting, we're shifting, and you know what, we're not afraid of change, because the ones that are sitting there not changing are the ones that will not be in business at the end of this year. And that really sunk home, because he was so right. Because he was like, you know what, I'm learning. And this was someone that has been in the business 20 years. And he all of a sudden was like, I'm learning a new platform. I'm having to reach out to people in the software space, because he was doing he was gamifying the attendees, the expo hall, which if you're just in the regular AV space, that gamification isn't necessarily always your forte, right? So it's the same thing. We're all having to learn different platforms and different programs. And rather than just being that like kid in the candy store and just like, you know, crying because you don't get what you want, or, you know, not getting how you like it, you know, and stomping your feet, just be willing to accept it and be willing to look at the candy store and be like, oh my gosh, look at all this possibility that we have, and don't be afraid to go ask for that help, or to partner with people that can get you that end result. Because that's the key is not the fact that you just did it. The key is that your users have an amazing user experience. So if you can help make that happen by getting the key people in place, that's the end result that you want. So it may be that you no longer are running it all by yourself. It may be that you have to step back just a little bit and ask for some help, and that's okay. I mean, I'm doing that. All of us are doing that. We're all getting uncomfortable, but it's okay to be uncomfortable, because we're having to meet other people that are making us better. And that's exactly what we should all be doing right now. We should all be linking arms with people that are going to make us better.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, you know, all that a virtual event is it's giving your customer an experience in their home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're still providing that experience, and you're still providing that, you know, just engagement level to them. It's just a different location. And so you have to get a little bit creative with it, but you can have so much fun with it. And, you know, just thinking out of the box too, you know, it doesn't have to be traditional conference workshop type events either. You know, we've got a couple of clients that we're doing all their internal events. So their sales and marketing meetings and their product launches and all of those, so that they can still communicate with their family or their workforce, their employees, to keep them motivated and knowing what's going on, and, you know, being able to still build that business. Because like you said, you know, and I've been talking for weeks on this about, you've got to be willing to pivot to profit. If you're going to stay stagnant, if you're going to stay frozen and fearful, you're going to fail. Yep. But if you're willing to pivot, then you're definitely going to profit. And it's just, you know, we're all going to come out of this, you know, in a really new place that's going to be amazing. And it's something to look forward to.
Yep, I agree with you completely.
Absolutely. So I really, really appreciate all of the time and your expertise and your insight, and just catching up with you too. I love talking to you every time that we get the opportunity to, you know, and I would say, you know, is it okay if somebody has a question about events that they kind of reach out to you on LinkedIn or social or anywhere along those lines?
Of course, absolutely. I think that's the point. You know, right now we should all be reaching out to one another and supporting one another, and helping be creative and sharing ideas. And don't be afraid to go ask for help. Like that is one of the things that we're all learning. Even people, I have friends that I think are just the biggest pros in the industry that I look up to, and they're asking for help. And I'm just like, yay, I don't feel like I'm the only one asking for help. So, you know, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask others if you see something working. And don't be afraid to dive in and just say, hey, what platform did you use? What did you, you know, what service did you use? And be okay with asking those questions, because you want your users to have the most incredible experience, whether it's virtual, whether it's you know, live. I mean, think about it. If you were to go to the live event and you walk into the hotel, you're not the person that is necessarily vacuuming the floors. You're not the person that's setting out the ink pens and the paper and the water. That's the hotel staff, because they're doing what they know what to do. They're the ones that are setting up the AV because they're the ones that know what they're doing. You're doing your piece of it because that's the part that you know how, right? But you're letting everybody else do it. So the same thing goes for this virtual event space, right? You do what you are good at, and partner with other people that are really good in this space as well. Let them help you with the technology. Let them help you with maybe the gamification, or the different back end pieces of, this, what an online summit could look like, or customer service. I mean, right now you're gonna need more customer service than ever if you're gonna be like Lisa, like you said, with having the live events and having people answering phones or answering IMs and different things for the virtual events. So just getting those systems in place, like that's okay. Build that out and ask people to help you with it.
Yeah, and really let them be the guinea pigs too, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we have tested out now how many software systems over the last few months, and we like different things about different systems depending on what the event is that we need to do. And that's something that we've kind of painfully gone through. So I'm very happy to share that, because there are some systems that's like, no, please don't, right? It's
Yep.
not going to work for you. And it's not because the system's bad, it's just because it's not going to meet your needs. So let somebody else have some of those experiences as well, and that can share that with you, so that you're not spending your time there, but you're spending your time in your genius and really in terms of building your event, both on the live side and the virtual side. So definitely ask for help. You can reach out to DeAnna, you can reach out to myself. We're both here to help. So any questions that either one of us can answer will definitely help you.
I would also say jump in and start watching what other people are doing. Don't be afraid to jump in there. Like I'm constantly on other people's webinars now. I'm constantly on other people's virtual events because I want to experience it from this side. A lot of times you even if you went to a live event and they know who you are and they're like, oh, you're our guest, you don't necessarily get to experience every single piece of it, right? So I'm experiencing it as an attendee. And I mean, I'm seeing a lot of things that are working and that are not working, and that maybe I might want to implement, and if I see a really cool process, I'm like, oh, I need to figure out how to use that. And so then I'll text that person and say, tell me how you did that, and everyone's so gracious. They're sharing their ideas, but really, if you have the time and energy right now that you can, try to make it a point to go join other people's webinars, other people's live events. It doesn't cost a lot for you to probably join, but to grasp the knowledge of what other people are doing or what they're not doing is good for you. Like, it's expanding what you're doing. And again, I mean, you really should be thinking outside of the box. And what you may not be, you'd be surprised at what people are adding. You may think it's, just another virtual Zoom meeting or whatever, but you'd be surprised. I was surprised the other day with one that I joined, and I was blown away at some of the elements that they added to it at the end. And I'm like, wow, that was the best $55 or whatever that I joined. Actually, I think it was like $97. I joined for this online thing. And I went in with kind of an attitude thinking, what am I going to learn? And I learned, I took notes. Like, I literally was taking notes because it was amazing, some of the things that they added at the end of each day. And so that's, don't be afraid to do that. Jump in and be a student yourself.
Yeah. And don't be afraid of taking some of those fun elements from those live events and converting them too. Even if you're doing a smaller workshop. I have a friend who did a 15-person workshop that they had to convert last minute to virtual. And, normally at a workshop, you would have lunch brought in, right? And what they did is, for those 15 people, they actually DoorDashed their lunch to all 15 people, so that they all were able to eat together at the same time, right? And so just taking some of those things that we kind of take for granted a little bit at live events, and just converting those to the virtual space, you can have a lot of fun with it, and it's something that's making things really memorable for people, and they're loving it. So don't be afraid to get a little bit creative there too.
I think be a lot creative. I think, at least go all in, like think outside of the box on everything, like have fun with it. Like, this is the time to have fun, whether it's sending out cups with your brand on it and have everybody toasting, virtually, those kind of, just think outside the box and have a lot of fun with it. And don't be afraid to try things. You might as well try them, have fun. People want to do something different right now. So be that source for them. And don't think that just because you have to change it to virtual that it's going to be boring, because you can actually make it an incredible experience and still have an amazing outcome. And then also, don't be afraid to if you don't want to have lots of bells and whistles and you want it to be more simplified. Let me just say this. If let's say you have a client that really wants, don't be afraid to do that either, and just do it really classy. There's so much stuff you can do. You don't have to do every bell and whistle. It could be simple and classy, but don't be afraid to try things, and don't be afraid to make sure that your attitude comes across really well too. I think that's really important. That don't, be excited about it being a virtual event. This is what we're looking at now, and this is the new norm. And embrace it and make it exciting, and bring people with you like that. I'm more excited about virtual events than I ever have been.
Yeah, absolutely. They're fun. They're a lot
They are
of
fun.
So, all right. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate your time today. And, as mentioned, people can connect with DeAnna or connect with myself. We'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. But until then, go be creative, do something outside of the box, and just have fun with your events.